My name is Linda, and I'm the oldest of two kids. My dad has his own business, and my mom works part-time at a trading company. Then there are the twins, Barbara and Adam, who are 7 years younger than me. They were always the favorites, the ones who could do no wrong in our parents' eyes. From the moment they were born, my role in the family changed a lot. I wasn't just their big sister. I became their babysitter, housekeeper, and personal assistant all at once. While other kids my age were having fun, I was picking up the twins from school, helping them with homework, and taking them to their activities. I also had to take care of the house, cleaning, cooking, grocery shopping, and more. Meanwhile, Barbara and Adam did nothing. They'd come home, drop their backpacks anywhere, and leave a mess behind them like it was my job to clean up. One afternoon, when I was about 16, I finally got the courage to talk to my parents about it. During dinner, I tried to keep my voice steady. Mom, Dad, why am I the only one who has to do all the housework? Barbara and Adam never help with anything. Mom put down her fork and gave me that look, the one that made me feel silly for even asking. Honey, that's just how families work. The oldest child always has more responsibilities. But that's not true, I said. I've been to Laura's and Emily's houses, and in their families, everyone shares the chores equally. Mom's face hardened. Those families are raising their kids the wrong way. Is that where you got this idea? From your friends? Across the table, Barbara and Adam smirked. They loved it. Later that week, I got in trouble again, so I decided to talk to Barbara and Adam directly about helping out more. Why don't you guys ever help with the housework? I asked while we were doing their homework. Barbara rolled her eyes. Mom says we need to focus on school and our activities. That's our job. Yeah, Adam added with a smug grin. You're supposed to do all that stuff. Mom told us so. But it wasn't just about the chores. The twins seemed to enjoy making my life harder. They would mess up rooms I had just cleaned or break things and blame it on me. Sometimes, they even lied to our parents, saying I didn't help with their homework or forgot to buy something they needed. My senior year of high school should have been exciting, a time for college applications, campus visits, and planning my future. Instead, it was just another reminder that in my family, I always came second to the twins. I remember that evening so clearly. I was sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by college brochures, when my parents came home. I could tell by their faces they had bad news for me. Linda, we need to talk about college, Dad said, avoiding my eyes. Mom spoke next, her voice flat. We looked at our finances, and we just don't have the money for your college. All our savings have to go toward Barbara and Adam's education. Her words hit me like a punch. I stared at the brochures, which now felt like a cruel joke with all their promises of a bright future. But I've worked so hard, I whispered. My grades are good. I can get scholarships. The decision is final, Mom said firmly. We have to think about Barbara and Adam's future. What about my future? I asked, trying not to cry. Dad patted my shoulder awkwardly. You're smart, honey. You'll figure something out. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the twins laughing in their room down the hall. They already knew. I could tell from the way they had smirked at me during dinner. Once again, they were getting everything. I got nothing. But something changed in me that night. Instead of crying, I got angry, really angry. The next day, I started looking for a job. Within 3 weeks, I found an entry-level position at a company. It wasn't fancy, but it paid enough for me to rent a tiny apartment. The day after graduation, I moved out. The next few years were tough, but I worked hard. I took every training my company offered, volunteered for extra projects, and slowly moved up. I didn't have a college degree, but I had something better, real-world experience, and the determination to succeed. Meanwhile, Barbara and Adam got everything as planned. Mom and Dad somehow found plenty of money to pay for their tuition, housing, and expenses. They graduated with impressive degrees and even bigger egos. The funny part? Barbara can't keep a job for more than 4 or 5 months. She always has an excuse about why it's not a good fit for her talents. And Adam? He works as a warehouse supervisor, a job that definitely doesn't need the expensive degree our parents went into debt for. But at every family gathering, They love to brag about their education. Well, as someone with a degree in business administration, Barbara will say, giving me that smug look. You know, back in college, Adam will add, trying to one-up her. I just sit there, sipping my wine, thinking about how my salary is more than both of theirs combined. Sometimes, I have to hide my smile behind my glass while they brag about their degrees, while struggling to pay their bills. Then one day, during my lunch break, I was scrolling through my phone when I saw a post from my cousin Laura. She was wearing a gorgeous emerald green dress, smiling at the camera. The caption read, "Can't wait for Aunt Emma's big celebration." I stopped mid-bite, my sandwich frozen in my hand. My mother's birthday wasn't for a few more weeks, and I hadn't heard anything about a party. Maybe I was overthinking. Maybe it was for something else. I hesitated, then typed, "Beautiful dress. What's this celebration for?" Laura replied almost instantly, "For Aunt Emma's 59th birthday. It's going to be amazing. Haven't you started planning your outfit yet?" It felt like ice water had been poured over me. My mother was throwing a big party, and I, her eldest daughter, knew nothing about it. My hands shook as I grabbed my phone and called my mother. She answered on the fifth ring. "Linda, what is it?" "I'm really busy right now." I try to keep my voice steady. "I just saw Laura's post about your birthday party. Why haven't I heard anything about it?" There was silence on the other end, then a small sigh. When Mom finally spoke, her voice had that familiar tone, calm but condescending, like she was talking to a child.
"Oh, that."
"Well, Linda, I didn't invite you because I don't want you there." I actually pulled the phone away from my ear and stared at it, sure I had misheard. "What do you mean you don't want me there? I'm your daughter." "Yes, well," she cleared her throat. "The thing is, Linda, this is going to be a very upscale event. There will be important people there, high society guests, your father's business associates, my friends from the country club. And honestly, I'd be embarrassed to introduce you. You don't have a college degree, Linda. What would I even say when people ask what you do? It would be uncomfortable." I sat there, holding the phone to my ear, listening to my own mother tell me I wasn't good enough to be at her birthday party. "So, Barbara and Adam are invited?" I asked, already knowing the answer. "Of course they are," she replied, like it was obvious. "They have college degrees. They know how to behave in sophisticated company." I thought about Barbara, who couldn't keep a job for more than a few months, and Adam, who worked in a warehouse. But because they had degrees, they were worthy of being at Mom's party. "I see," I said. My voice sounded strange, almost distant. "So that's really how you feel about me?" "Oh, don't be so dramatic, Linda. This is exactly why I didn't want to have this conversation. You always turn things into such a scene." I had always known my mother loved the twins more than me. But this was different. This wasn't just favoritism or ignoring me. This was my mother openly saying she was ashamed of me, that I wasn't worthy of being seen with the family in public. I barely slept that night. Her words kept playing over and over in my head. By morning, I told myself there had to be a mistake. My father couldn't possibly agree with this. He had always been more reasonable, even if he did favor the twins. I needed to hear what he had to say. The next morning, I drove to my parents' house, going over what I wanted to say in my head. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw both Barbara's and Adam's cars. Great, I thought. The whole family is here for this. Mom answered the door with an annoyed look, like I was some salesperson interrupting her day. "Linda, what are you doing here?" "I need to talk to Dad," I said, pushing past her into the house. They were all in the living room. Dad in his usual armchair, Barbara and Adam sprawled out on the couch like they owned the place. "Dad," I started, my voice already shaking. "Did Mom tell you about our conversation yesterday? What do you think about it?" He shifted in his chair, avoiding my eyes. "I think your mother's right. It would be better if you didn't come." His words hit me like a slap. I looked around the room at these people who were supposed to be my family. "All of you feel this way?" Barbara rolled her eyes. "Nobody wants you there." Adam nodded. "For once, can't you just accept something without turning it into a huge deal?" I couldn't believe what I was hearing. "So none of you think it's wrong to leave me out of a family event?" Don't you see how unfair this is? It's always been like this. Barbara and Adam are the favorites, and I'm just forgotten. You don't even see me as part of this family anymore. Barbara jumped up, pointing at me. This is exactly why we don't want you there. You're such a drama queen, Linda. Always making a scene, always playing the victim. Every time something good happens to us, you try to ruin it with your attitude. You're just jealous because Adam and I actually made something of ourselves and you... That's enough, I snapped, my voice rising. Made something of yourselves? Barbara, you can't keep a job for 4 months. And Adam? He works in a warehouse. The only thing you two have made of yourselves is a joke. Mom gasped, clutching her pearls like I had just said something unforgivable. I turned to my father, searching for some kind of support, but his face had hardened. A sudden exit. I think it's time for you to leave, my father said firmly. His voice was cold, final. This conversation is over. Leave our house immediately. I stood there for a moment, my heart pounding, waiting, hoping that someone would stop me. But no one did. Without another word, I turned and stormed out, slamming the door so hard the windows shook. As I got into my car, I glanced back through the living room window. They were all still sitting there, probably already talking about my dramatic exit. But I didn't care anymore. They had finally shown me who they really were. And now, I had nothing left to lose. A perfect opportunity. People say revenge is best served cold. But sometimes, life hands you the perfect opportunity, one that's just too good to ignore. That's exactly what happened 3 weeks before my mother's birthday. I had gone downtown to grab lunch at a little cafe. It wasn't my usual spot, but my favorite place was too crowded that day. As I waited for my order, I glanced around the room, just passing the time. That's when I saw her. My mother. She was sitting in the corner, trying to keep a low profile under a wide-brimmed hat. But I knew that posture anywhere. She wasn't alone. Across from her sat a man I had never seen before. He looked like he was in his early 40s, dressed in a sharp business suit, well-groomed. And he was definitely not my father. I watched, frozen in place, as the man reached across the table and touched her hand. And then she giggled. Actually giggled, like a love-struck teenager. Before I even realized it, my phone was in my hand. I pretended to scroll through social media, carefully angling the camera their way. Click. His hand on hers. Click. A shared laugh. Click. Another lingering touch. They sat there for about an hour, completely wrapped up in their little world. When they finally got up to leave, I waited a moment before following. They walked outside together and got into his car, a sleek black Mercedes. I followed at a safe distance, my hands gripping the steering wheel, my mind racing. When they stopped at a red light, I grabbed my phone again. Click. Them kissing deeply. Click. Her hand on his cheek. They didn't have a care in the world. The Mercedes pulled into the parking lot of the Grand Plaza Hotel. I parked across the street and watched as they walked in hand, looking at each other like young lovers. I got it all on video, their entrance, the way they checked in, how they couldn't keep their hands off each other as they waited for the elevator. The plan. When I got home, I started putting everything together. A quick search of the man's license plate led me straight to his social media. His name was Henry Kissinger, a successful real estate developer. Office downtown. Married. 2 kids. Well. Over the next few days, I carefully prepared everything. First, I had the photos printed, large and clear. The best one? The shot of them kissing in the car. Then, I transferred all the hotel footage onto a USB drive, making sure to include every juicy detail. Mom always cared about appearances. She always wanted everything to be perfect. Well, she was about to have a birthday she'd never forget. The perfect gift. I wanted everything to be perfect. I found the most elegant gift box I could, cream-colored with gold trim. It looked expensive, just like the kind my mother would love. I carefully rolled each photo into a small tube and tied them with silk ribbons. Very classy, very sophisticated. Just like Mom always insisted everything should be. The final touch was the greeting card. In my best handwriting, I wrote Mr. Kissinger's full name and address. Then, underneath, a short message. Thought you might want to know who your husband really is. That one was for his wife. I knew she would be at the party. Mom had mentioned her while talking about her high-class guest list. I closed the box and tied it with a beautiful gold bow. From the outside, it looked like an expensive birthday present. No one would suspect what was inside until it was too late. The big night. The day of my mother's birthday party arrived. Everything was planned perfectly. I had scheduled a courier to deliver the package at exactly 7:15 p.m., right when I knew they'd be opening gifts. That evening, I sat in my apartment, phone in hand, nervously checking the time every few minutes. At 7:20 p.m., I got the confirmation. Package delivered. Now, all I had to do was wait. The morning after. I didn't have to wait long. At 6 a.m., my phone rang. It was my cousin Laura. She sounded breathless with excitement. Oh my God, Linda. You will not believe what happened at the party last night. She didn't even give me time to respond before she kept going. It was insane. Everything was perfect, just how Aunt Emma wanted it. Classy, elegant, all those fancy guests. And then they started opening gifts. I could picture it perfectly. My mother, sitting in the center of attention, dressed in something expensive and stylish, surrounded by her carefully chosen guests. Laura continued. She was making a big show of it, reading each card out loud, thanking everyone, acting all fancy. And then she got to that gift. I leaned forward, gripping my phone tighter. You should have seen it, Laura giggled. She picked up the cream-colored box and started gushing about how beautiful it was. Then she opened it, and she saw these rolled-up papers tied with ribbons. She was actually complimenting the presentation while she untied the first one. Laura's voice got higher with excitement. Then she unrolled it. There was a pause. I could hear Laura trying to hold back laughter. Linda, I have never seen someone's face change color so fast. My heart pounded. What happened next? I asked, trying to sound calm. Laura took a deep breath. Everything exploded. She rushed through her words, practically tripping over them in excitement. The photo showed her kissing some man. And get this, the man and his wife were both at the party. I closed my eyes, smiling to myself. Perfect. Laura kept going, her voice filled with glee. Your dad grabbed the photo. Then he started opening the other ones. Each one was worse than the last. There were pictures of them holding hands, walking into a hotel together, kissing in the car, everything. I could hear the pure delight in Laura's voice as she finished. Linda, your dad completely lost it. The fallout. Dad lunged across the table at the man, and just like that, a fight broke out. Right there, between the cake and the champagne. The guy's wife started screaming at my mom, calling her every nasty name she could think of. She wasn't just yelling, she was throwing things. Glasses, plates, whatever she could grab. She shouted about how she and her husband had been married for 21 years, how they had 2 kids, and how my mom was a homewrecker. Some guests tried to break up the chaos, but it was no use. The party had turned into a full-blown disaster. Sounds intense, I said carefully. Laura lowered her voice, as if sharing a juicy secret. Can I be honest? She whispered. It was kind of amazing to watch. She paused, then laughed. Your mom has spent years acting like she's better than everyone else. Always judging, always lecturing about proper behavior and family values. And then this happens. She chuckled again. I know I shouldn't say this, but honestly, it couldn't have happened to a more deserving person. I thought about my mother's perfect party. The fancy decorations. The carefully selected guest list. Her reputation as a classy, respectable woman. And now, all of it, her image, her social status, her so-called perfection was shattered. Just like the champagne glasses that had been thrown across the room. The aftermath. Within days, I started hearing from family members. Dad had moved out of the house and was staying at a hotel. He had already contacted his lawyer. He was filing for divorce. I wasn't surprised. Dad had always been a proud man, maybe too proud. A public humiliation like this? There was no way he would forgive it. But what had surprised me was the phone call I got a few days later. Linda, Dad's voice sounded different. Older. Tired. I need to ask you something. I frowned. Okay. He took a slow breath. I'm going to have DNA tests done on all three of you. My stomach dropped. I need some samples from you. Hair, saliva. I hadn't expected that. Though maybe I should have. You think we might not be. I don't know what to think anymore, he cut in. After what I just found out about your mother, I'm not sure of anything. A long silence stretched between us. Can I get the samples? He asked. I swallowed hard. Of course. You can come by any time. A father's doubt. He showed up that same afternoon. I had never seen him like that before. His shoulders were slumped. His face looked tired and drained. This wasn't the strong, confident father I had grown up with. This was a broken man. He carefully collected the samples, placing them in sterile containers. His hands were shaking slightly. For the next 3 weeks, I tried not to think about it. But of course I did. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Then the call came. Can I come over? His voice was tight, strained with emotion. We need to talk. 25 minutes later, he was sitting on my couch, not saying a word, just staring down at his hands. The truth unfolds. Dad took a deep breath before finally speaking. I got the results. He looked up at me, his eyes red and tired. You're mine. Only you. My heart pounded. The twins, they're not mine. He swallowed hard. Your mother, she confessed everything. I felt frozen in place as he continued. She had an affair. Years ago. She loved the man, but he wouldn't leave his family for her. So she settled for having his children. Dad let out a bitter laugh. He died a few years back. He paused, running a hand down his face. I've cut off contact with the twins. I can't even look at them now. Every time I see them, all I see are the lies. The betrayal. The pieces finally fell into place. All those years of favoritism. The way she always treated the twins better. It was never about me being a bad daughter. It was about them being the only children she actually wanted. She loved him, Dad continued, his voice cold. And she loved his children. But she never really loved me. He looked at me, pain filling his eyes. And you were mine. So she pushed you aside. She made you feel like an outsider in your own home. His voice broke. And God, Linda, I let her do it. I let her turn me against you. Against my only real child. He reached for my hand, then hesitated. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I was a terrible father to you. But if you'd be willing, if you'd let me try, I'd like to have a relationship with my daughter. My real daughter. I looked at him, this broken man who was supposed to be my father, and felt a storm of emotions. Anger. Pity. Satisfaction. Hope. I took a deep breath. I'll think about it. It was all I could give him. A call from the past. The call came on a Friday afternoon. I was in the middle of a work meeting when my phone lit up with her number. I excused myself and stepped outside. I know it was you, my mother said the moment I answered. Her voice was cold, controlled. But underneath, I could hear the fury. The birthday gift. The photos. All of it. It was you. I didn't hesitate. Yes, it was. The control in her voice snapped. How dare you humiliate me like that in front of everyone? I laughed, and for the first time it actually felt good. You want to talk about humiliation? I asked. How about spending my entire childhood as your personal servant? How about being told I wasn't good enough to come to your birthday party because I didn't have a college degree? That's different. I shook my head. No, Mother. It's not different. You spent my whole life belittling me. You turned Dad against me. You made the twins think I was nothing. You made me think I wasn't good enough to be part of this family. I took a breath, my voice steady and strong. Well, guess what? Turns out I'm the only one who actually belongs in this family. Silence. A long, heavy silence. Then, finally, her voice small and shaking. You've ruined everything. I smiled. No, Mother. You ruined everything. I just exposed the truth. I paused, letting it sink in. Maybe next time you're lecturing someone about morality and proper behavior, you'll remember your own actions. And with that, I ended the call. The aftermath. I hung up before she could say another word. The months that followed brought big changes to our family. Dad's divorce was finalized quickly. He had great lawyers and plenty of evidence on his side. Mom tried to fight for a big settlement, but the proof of her affair and the DNA test results left her with almost nothing to bargain with. In the end, she walked away with a little money, but nowhere near the wealthy divorce lifestyle she had probably imagined. Last I heard, she had moved to another city. Good riddance. Of course, the family gossip mill was in overdrive. Everyone had an opinion, but surprisingly, most of our relatives weren't upset about how things had turned out. Your mother had it coming, my Aunt Rachel told me over coffee one day, always acting like she was better than everyone else. She stirred her drink, shaking her head. Do you know she once spent an entire Christmas dinner lecturing me about how I was raising my kids wrong? Miss High and Mighty preaching about family values, while she was sneaking around with another man. Aunt Rachel laughed. Honestly, it's poetic justice. A real father-daughter bond. As for Dad, we're slowly rebuilding a real relationship, one that actually means something. He calls me regularly now. I've even had him over for dinner a few times. He's still struggling with everything that happened, but I can see him healing. Sometimes he even smiles again. The twins?
Gone.
I haven't spoken to Barbara or Adam since everything came out. They tried calling a few times at first, but I blocked their numbers. What could they possibly say to make up for a lifetime of cruelty? Not revenge. Justice. Some might say I did this for revenge. I call it justice. My mother spent years pretending to be perfect, acting like she was better than everyone else, while treating me like I didn't belong in my own family. All I did was show everyone who she really was. And I have no regrets.